Hi everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have my August wrap-up to share with you. So it is officially September 1st, one of my favorite months of the year, and I'm here to wrap up all 16 books that I read in August. So I actually had a pretty good reading month, considering I went to California for literally 7 days and I finished one book. I'm really happy with 16 books. I did read some okay books. I did not have any 5-star reads besides a reread, which, I mean, it's fine. I did have some pretty low rated books, and yeah, let's just go ahead and get into statistics because you're like, okay, but what book? So for breakdown of genre, I had 2 fantasy romances, 9 contemporary romances, and 5 sports romances. For ratings, I had 1 5-star read, 4 4.5 stars, 3 4 stars, 3 3.5 stars, 4 3 stars, and 1 2-star. It was an extremely interesting reading month. So we're just going to start right from the top. The first book that I read in August was, what is this called? A Soul of Ash and Blood by JLA. So I did a whole From Blood and Ash world read along with a couple other people here on BookTube, and that was really fun. But our last live show was at the beginning of August, and this was one of the books that was included in the live show. We did a double live show. So I really wanted to read this before then. It did come out in July, I think. This is basically From Blood and Ash from Hawke's point of view, or Castille's point of view, but it is a continuation of the series, so you cannot read it out of order. Like, it is the 5th book in the series for a reason. We get to see his point of view of a lot of things that happened in From Blood and Ash, so it's interesting, and I gave it 4 stars. Like, I'm a fan of this series, and I love Castile. I think that he is such a fun, like, male character, and I just love the love that he has for Poppy. So I always love seeing like his point of view, but I just felt like it was okay. Like, it was a good read. It was more of a filler book to just kind of put something out there for the fans. I felt like it was definitely more for the fans, which, I mean, I'm not mad about, but it definitely isn't a 5-star read because there's nothing new that came up or kind of like progress the story, if that makes sense. So it was good. It was solid 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Now, I will say, to continue on with this series, to read the 6th book, you have to read this book. There's something that happens at the very end that sets up the next book. I think it's the 6th book in the series. So you definitely have to read them in order. Definitely read this one before the next one comes out. I don't even know when the 6th book's coming out, but that's definitely one you have to read in order. The next book that I read was Those 3 Little Words by Megan Quinn, and I gave this like 3.5 stars. This isn't my favorite. So I am doing a Battle of the Tropes read along with a couple other people here on BookTube, and we all picked a book for the weekend August, and our live show is actually September 7th. So if you're watching this, it's on Thursday, so in a couple days. If you're watching this on Tuesday when it goes up, but September 7th is our live show where we're just going to chat about all the books. But I'm going to give you all of my thoughts now because I read all 5 in August. So this one is not my favorite Megan Quinn. This is a surprise pregnancy, surprise baby. That's not my favorite. It didn't work for me. I was annoyed by the female character. She annoyed me so fucking much. Like, I understand emotions and hormones are a big part of being pregnant. Like, I know they go crazy, but like, this took it to a whole nother level, I feel like. And I've heard that it's very realistic, and that's totally fine. But for me, I'm not someone who wants kids, so I really don't care about reading about a woman who is pregnant. So I just don't think that this book was for me. So that's why I gave it like 3 stars, 3.5. I mean, like, Megan Quinn writes like solid, like her writing is good. It just, the story wasn't for me. I did like the hero though. He was very sweet. And then I did a Patreon exclusive reading vlog where I picked 2 books. Well, I have 5 books that my patrons pick from, and the top 2 is what I put in a reading vlog. And Love Theoretically was one of them that they picked, which I was actually really shocked. I didn't like this book. I gave it 3 stars. And I feel like that's honestly being generous. So in this book, we see it's another woman in STEM, which I like. And I just felt like it was kind of the same as The Love Hypothesis. It was just like the same story about this guy that she meets, but she meets him while she's kind of like fake dating his brother to try and help him out. And he kind of realizes who she is, but there was like, after like the first 25%, like, it was going well. But then I feel like Ali Hazelwood threw in this and that and this and that. And I was like, whoa. There is way too much happening in this book for me to like keep up with this contemporary romance. It was 12 hours of the audiobook. It was way too long in my opinion. I did like that she was diabetic. She is type 1 diabetic in the book, which is constantly brought up, which I do like because it's like relevant. I feel like people with type 1 diabetes has to pay attention to it all the time, and it comes up in situations, and I think that's very realistic that happened. But I just feel like the story, like the plot lost its way, and like the romance kind of got lost with that. Like, I don't know, I just feel like she was putting too much into it for it to like stay on topic, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. If you've read it, I feel like, you know, it might make sense, but yeah, I don't know. It just Was my favorite. And then we just kept on with 3 stars. I read Runaway Love by Melanie Harlow. So I wanted to read Hideaway Heart by Melanie Harlow, but I like to read things in order, and I probably shouldn't have done it because now I'm like scared to read the next book, the second book, because I gave this one 3 stars. It was okay. Like, once again, it was just an okay book. Melanie Harlow, she wrote, like, her writing's solid. I just didn't like the whole, like, female character where she's running away from a wedding and then she goes to a super small town and of course she meets this really cute guy and it's very insta-lovey in that way. Like, it had things going for it and it kept me entertained, but it's not my favorite book. So I don't know if I'm feeling slumpy or not. I don't know. I just those 3 books really did it for me. And I was like, okay, enough of this 3-star average rating for books. I want to read something good. I want to read something that's going to hook me and keep me hooked. You know what I mean? Then I read the second book for my Patreon exclusive reading vlog for August. And I read For the Fans by Nyla K. And listen, number one, this book is way too long. It's like it's over 700 pages on Kindle, which I mean, like, it's fine. I read it. It was good. They had a lot of shit that happened in this book. Like, these 2 characters really, really go through it. So do I think it needed to be 700 Kindle pages? No, I don't know the actual, like, paperback number, but I think it could have, 150 pages could have been knocked out, but it definitely needed to be long because these 2 characters are stepbrothers. You see that one's mom's gets married to the other one's dad. So they're forced to live in the same house, I think when they're 16, 17, and then they go to the same college. So, like, you have to, like, time skip at the beginning to kind of, like, set up why they hate each other so much. And then they go to the same college, and it continues that. And I will say the whole, like, bridge between, we hate each other to, yeah, let's kind of do an OnlyFans thing. It was rocky. Like, it could have been a little bit smoother, but I still really enjoyed it. It was very spicy. It was my first, like, true Nyla K book. I don't think I've read anything else by her. Or if I have, it's been a very, very long time that I don't really remember. But it was a good book. I liked the aspect of the consequences of having an OnlyFans and getting caught with that when certain things come up. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was a fun and spicy time, and that's what kind of my expectations was because I know that Nyla K writes some crazy shit sometimes, so it was fun. It was great. And then I moved on to the Carter Kids series by Chloe Walsh. You guys know, if you've been around for a little while, Chloe Walsh is one of my favorite authors I've discovered this year and started reading. I love the Boys of Tommen series, so I wanted to read another one of her series to see, like, if her writing stays the same. This Carter Kids series, I'll tell you now, the first 4 books follow the same couple. They all end on cliffhangers, except I haven't read the 4th book yet, but I did read book 1, book 2, book 3 in August. So book 1 is Treacherous, and this one opens up to our female character. She's from Ireland. She moves to the United States to this town, and she moves in next door to our main male character. He is like a fighter. He gets in fights a lot, and they have like this moment right off the bat where they like connect and meet eyes, but then it's like gone a little bit, but they kind of have this really, really hate to love aspect, and he's an underground fighter, so she is put into that world, and she's like, what am I doing? But I will say they have this whirlwind romance. Like, once they like fall into their attraction, like give into their attraction, it just picks up speed. So the first one's on a cliffhanger. If I didn't say, I gave Treacherous 4.5 stars, and I also gave Thorn, which is the second book, 4.5 stars. I really like this one. This one is, they're apart for a reason. Like, at the end of the book, they split up, so that's why it's a cliffhanger. It's not an HE or anything like that. And then book 2 is basically, there's a time jump, and then it's like her living her life, him living his life, and then how they come back together, and that is even more messy too. So it's like one of those series that is just hooks you because it's toxic, it's angsty, it's messy, it's emotional. You feel for the characters because that's what I like in Chloe Walsh's writing. And then I gave Tame book 3 4 stars. So this one has surprise pregnancy type thing that comes up, which is not always my favorite, but it definitely felt like a filler book to get to the 4th book, which I don't remember the title, but I do have it on my Kindle. I haven't read it yet. I read all 3 of these by audio. The 4th one isn't on Hoopla, so that's why I didn't listen to the audio in August. I would have if they had an audio, but I bought the Kindle version, so it's on my Kindle. I'll physically read it at some point, but it was still really good writing. I like the characters. I like seeing where they're going. It just wasn't a 4.5 star. It was 4 because it really felt like a filler book, which when you have 4 books technically that follow the same couple, of course there's going to be one book that's a filler book. So I wasn't necessarily like mad about it, but I'm glad that those turned out to be really good books for me that like kept me going. Then I read Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. Is it Sage? Sage? Sage. I think it's Sage. I give this 4.5 stars. Listen, I didn't really have any expectations going into this book. Like the whole cover, I mentioned in a KUTBR video, the whole cover of this book gave me like, not weird vibes, but I was just like hesitant to try it because I was like, what the fuck is this book? It reminds me of like the old 1950s little kids books that you like, they're super thin, they have the gold spine. I don't know if you guys remember this, but my dad had a lot of those when I was growing up. Like they were his and stuff and they were passed down to me. So that's why I remember them. That's what they look like. So like the cover kind of like not turned me off, but it made me wary. You know what I mean? But then I went into it and I loved this book. I think this is a perfect book to end the summer just because of the atmosphere that the book like creates when you first like jump in. So when you start the book, you see our female character. She is going back to the small town where she grew up in that she hasn't been back in years. Her brother and her brothers and her dad is running the ranch where they kind of teach like horseback riding. They have like cattle and stuff like that. But then you see that she meets her brother's best friend. I forgot his name. I'm blanking on his name. But she always thought he was going to be like a kid that was going to get into trouble because he kind of did when he was younger. Never really like took anything serious. And now he like owns this bar. He's helping with the horseback riding, like lessons and stuff like that, helping out the ranch. Like he's become this very responsible man. And she's like, whoa, what is happening? So they kind of have a secret relationship. It's her brother's best friend. And I absolutely loved it. I think that it was such an enjoyable read. The ending was like a little rocky. Like it was like just a little rocky. I mean, like if I'm being honest, I'm rating it 5 stars on Goodreads, but like if I'm being really picky, it's a 4.5 star read. Like that's just me being extremely, extremely picky because like Redeeming Sex by Chloe Walsh has set the bar for my 5-star reads this year. And there's very few books emotionally that could hit me like that. But this one actually did have some pretty deep and heavy topics. She's trying to get back on a horse after an injury but she falls off of a horse and she gets spooked. And so she has like PTSD getting back on a horse and there's stuff with her past that comes up with that. But I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Thoroughly enjoyed this. And then I kind of hit a little speed bump. I read Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. So I picked this for Cover to Cover book club, which I run with Sam from Sam Reads a Little. And at first I gave it 4 stars, 4.5. And then we were talking on the live and there were just some stuff that just made this book average. Like it was a solid read. So that's why it's a 4.5 stars. So our female character, she has an underdeveloped limb. Her arm is and her hand is underdeveloped, and our main male character has a prosthetic leg. And while I love disability rep in books, I just felt like it was normalized, which is great. But this book, you only see from her point of view, and someone brought this up in the live show, that we really don't get to see his point of view with the disability. So it was kind of like, why put the disability in there if we really don't get to see anything? Like he had conversations about how, you know, he's scared to be a dad because this is a surprise pregnancy thing. And they had a one-night stand and it's like right off the bat. It's not a spoiler or anything like that. I just would love to see his point of view about talking about this and his disability and how scared he is because that's how they relate. It just felt like a perfect love story, as in like there's no angst. It's not even low angst. There is absolutely no angst. Every conversation they have is very mature and perfect and it works out. Like that's nice and I love that. But it kind of felt like women's fiction to me. I mean, like it was okay, 3.5 stars. I feel like if I maybe would have read it before all the hype happened, I may have rated it higher, but it was average. It was good. That was my first Hannah Bonham Young book. So, I mean, I didn't really have anything to go off of by that, but it was a solid read. And then I read Magnolia Parks. Well, technically I reread this book. I listened to the audio of this and of course 5 stars. I love this. We are doing a Magnolia Parks universe read along, which every month from August through, I think, December, we're reading 1 book a month. So August was Magnolia Parks. September is going to be Daisy Hates, which I'm really excited to reread that one. But this was my 3rd time rereading this, and I'm not mad about it. I love how messy it is. I picked up on some things that, once again, that I missed the 1st and 2nd time I read, which is why I love rereading books, especially ones that have a lot of foreshadowing and stuff like that. That's really what this one was, and I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, BJ and Magnolia, they got my will and always have my heart. Can't accept criticism on that book. I mean, like I can, but like, please don't tell me. It's one of my favorites, you know? The next 3 books that I read was actually for a 24-hour reading vlog that I did. I'll link it in the cards and the description box below. I usually don't do vlogs on my channel that much anymore, but I wanted to do a 24-hour reading vlog. So I read The King's Spinster Bride by Ruby Dixon, and I gave it 3 stars. So I've only read Ruby Dixon's Ice Planet Barbarian series. While that was a fun time, it was very far out there with the whole blue people. This one, our main male character, he's not like an alien, I don't think, but he has one eye. He sacrificed one of his eyes to a god or goddess to show that he's still a warrior. Like, you don't need both eyes to be a warrior. Like, he's tough and stuff. And our female character actually saved him 16 years previously. And he's, like, always been in love with her. Now he wants to have her. And she's like, wait, who are you? It was cute. It was like a 4-hour audiobook. It was a spicy good time. I mean, like 3 stars. It was fun. It kept my attention. they had a lot of sex in it, and that was great. You know, that's how I see it. It was very insta-lovey. Then I read One Last Shot. I talk about my thoughts a lot in that vlog. I loved this book. This is the fourth book in the Fight Game series by Nikki Castle. I gave it 4.5 stars, and the only reason why I gave it 4.5 stars is because I gave 2 fights by Nikki Castle 5 stars, and this one is literally right below it. I don't know what it is about Haley and Jax. I just read that at the perfect time for me, so it stuck with me, and it's still stuck with me. And the Kane and Isabella's story is literally like right underneath. I rated it 5 on Goodreads because it is a 5-star, but it's like 4.95, you know what I mean? Like, it's right below it. I really think that she did this whole tortured, broken bad boy in a very good way, and not many authors can actually do that, which is why I love this book so much. I just think that the way that she took it, as in someone who, you know, she writes from experience, or like what she knows, and she has worked in an MMA gym. Her husband owns one. Nikki Castle has fought herself. Like, she knows her way around an MMA gym, right? So I trust her to do that right. The path that she took Kane's character on was one that I really enjoyed reading, and not that I connected with, but I love to see his growth. But then you have Isabella, and she's a ballerina or ballet dancer that was injured, and now she can't compete the same way. She can't be a part of the company that she was at, so she moves to Philly to kind of start over. And I really connected with her because I used to be a ballet dancer, and not injured, but I was diagnosed with a chronic illness and I couldn't dance anymore. So it was one of those things where it's like, what do you do after when you thought your whole life you're going to be a ballet dancer or a teacher or this, you know? So I really, really connected with that, and I think she did a fantastic job with their story. There's no third act breakup if you're wondering, but I really enjoyed that one. The next one I read was Catching Lightning by Kaylee King and Greer Rivers. I really enjoy Greer Rivers' writing most of the time, but this book did not work for me, and I gave it 2 stars. I was very close to DNFing it, and to be honest, I skimmed and I really read the dialogue, so I wanted to see what happened. And it just got crazy. I'll talk about this in the live show. If I get into my thoughts, I'm gonna rant, and it's not good. But then I ended the month with The Ninth Inning by Jay Sterling. So I was actually sent these books by Jay Sterling, and Hoopla actually has this series. Well, my Hoopla has this series, and I listened to it. So this one was cute, and I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed the new adult aspect. There was this second chance aspect that I did like. And while you're kind of dropped into their world and their story, you're trying to figure out why he let Christina go. But then, like, now a year and a half later, he's like, no, I want you back. So like when other people are trying to get with her, he's like, no, she's mine. So it's like, that was kind of But then there's a whole like third act breakup thing that happens. It happens for a reason, but they previously discussed something in the book. Like, they previously had a conversation that was not exactly with what happened, but if they would have like just thought for a second, they wouldn't have had this like miscommunication thing. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to give anything away. So it was like 3 stars. Like, it wasn't a perfect book. It wasn't an awful book. I mean, coming off of Catching Lightning, I really enjoyed this one a lot more. I feel like Catching Lightning should be lower than 2, like 1.5, 1 star. It was just all over the place, and this one was a solid read. So I'm excited to read The Perfect Game, which is the first book in her other series, and I'm also excited to see the other characters. So my Hoopla has the other 2 audiobooks in this series, so the characters were introduced because they're baseball players. If I didn't say it, this is a sports romance, but it's baseball. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Jay Sterling does with the rest of the characters, and I want to go back and read the other series. But those are all 16 books that I read in August. You can let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite book of August. Drop me what kind of emoji? Drop me a sunflower emoji, because it's September and I love sunflowers, and I'm tempted to like go buy myself some sunflowers or something like that to put in my house somewhere. I don't know, but that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content from me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.